Welcome to the So You Missed Church podcast. We are happy to have you here with us today. Happy Monday to you. This is Clint Daly, and I'm hoping that if you went to church this week, you got something from it. Maybe the message helped you. Maybe you liked the music. Maybe you got to see some people that you hadn't seen in a little bit and they were encouraging to you. But maybe you missed church this week. Maybe you couldn't go, or maybe you just didn't go. Maybe you didn't even miss it. We're still hoping we can help you get your week started in a positive way. And you know, I will never forget the very first high school basketball game that I coached. I was actually not the head coach. I was just a lowly assistant that was just trying to find a place in coaching. But we had our first game, and I was going to be sitting on the varsity bench. And all day at my regular job, I was really nervous and really chatty and really edgy. And so I went to the game after work, and I was pacing in the locker room, and I had my little shirt and tie on because that's how coaches used to dress back in those days. And the band was playing, and the gym was packed, and we were in our locker room. And I could not sit still. I could not sit down. And our team went out for warm-ups, and being nervous like I was, I went over to my head coach and I asked him, "Hey, what do you need from me tonight? What do you need me to do on the bench? What do you want from me?" And I will never forget his answer. He said, "Coach Daly, look outside the locker room and look out on the floor." And I did. And he said, "Do you see down on the baseline? We've got about 10 to 15 cheerleaders down there." Yeah, I see them. "Okay, well, they've got that covered. I don't need you to be a cheerleader tonight. What I need you to do is I need you to be rational and clear thinking. I need you to look at what we are doing right on the floor and what we are doing wrong, and I need you to come up with solutions for how to minimize our mistakes and how to accentuate our strengths. But I am warning you, you are going to get caught up in the emotion of the game, and you're going to want to be a cheerleader. I can't have you do that. I need you to be objective and not be a cheerleader. You know what is right and what is wrong for our team. Make sure we are doing the right things." And you know, looking back, it was phenomenal advice. Because when there's 2 minutes left in the game and you're down by 3, you really want to jump up and down and just be a fan and scream like a cheerleader. But that is not what is needed. You need to be keeping players calm. You need to be thinking strategically. You know, on Saturday, in my country here in the United States, we celebrated our 250th birthday as a nation. And I'll be honest, I can't ever remember this nation being as divided as it is right now, although that might just be recency bias, if I'm being honest. I'm sure it has been worse in the past, but this is the worst that I personally have ever seen. And right now I'm going to say something, and it might anger some listeners. And I apologize in advance, but the reason we are so split right now is we have way too many people right now that are being cheerleaders and not enough people being critical thinkers. Here's a quick test you can take right now as you listen. If it's okay when your political party does maybe things that aren't very good, and it's not okay when the other side does, then you might just be being a cheerleader. If you agree with every single thing across the board that your political party says, then again, you might be a cheerleader. If you are unable to admit sometimes your political opponent does do some right things, and or sometimes your political party does get some things wrong, then again, you might be a cheerleader. And I realize as I say that there are going to be some listeners that are going to be offended by that, but let me explain. You know, we've talked about it before here on the podcast, but we go back today to the book of Numbers, and in chapter 13, where God tells Moses he wants him to send 12 spies into the land of Canaan and analyze whether it is a land that is worth taking and if they are going to be capable of taking it. Okay, so the 12 spies go in and they watch and they look and they come back and they all say the same thing. They say the land is amazing. It flows with milk and honey. The grapes are so large, it takes 2 men to carry one bunch on a stick. However, in verse 28, we read that some of them say this, "But the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large." They go on to say, They looked like grasshoppers next to the people. 10 of the spies said they could not take the land. However, there were 2 spies in Joshua and Caleb, and they said, we have God on our side. We can do this. All of the spies could see the good of the land, but 10 were afraid to actually try to take the land itself. And God punished those 10. They died of a plague, and he had the Israelites wander in the wilderness even longer until that generation of those 10 had all died and their children would inherit the land instead. And of course, eventually, that generation would go take the land, as Joshua and Caleb had said that they could. The land was there. It existed. It was theirs, but they couldn't have it yet. Okay, so here's my question for you this week. Why were the 10 punished? Now, it is my contention that they were punished not even for doubting that God would deliver the land to them, as important as that is. But I believe they were punished for refusing to see things the way that God saw them. They looked at themselves as grasshoppers. That's not how God was looking at them. That isn't how God was looking at that situation entirely. But here's the thing that we must try to do as we view the current political landscape, and I will warn you, it won't be easy. We must stop judging our current political positions based on fads and trends and popularity, and instead judge our views based on God's lens, not our own. And no, I'm not talking about comparing our current laws to the Old Testament law. That was a different place. That was a different time. That was a different situation. But we need to be looking at things through God's view. I know that sounds easy. It isn't. It requires dedication. It requires study. But remember that the truth is still the truth, even if no one believes it. And a lie is still a lie, even if everyone believes it. But today I want to take it one step further. And this might be where I struggle with our current political climate the most. There are far too many people that are being convinced, whether by social media or by news outlets or by popular people or whatever, that if someone has a differing political opinion than we do, we shouldn't talk to them. We should shun them. We can't be friends with them. We can't have rational political discussions with them. Let me warn you against that way of thinking. Ideas, specifically political ideas, are only good until they are challenged, and then we see if they still hold up. If you refuse to have meals with family or friends because of political ideology, I would say you're failing to look at things through the lens of God. Remember this. Jesus went and spoke to the woman at the well. He went and spoke to the rich man. He went and spoke to the tax collector. He went and spoke to many others. He had conversations with them. He showed compassion, despite not really having all that much in common with them. And I think we need to look at our current political views, and we need to adopt that same kindness and that same compassion. That requires critical thinking. Our current political views require us to think critically. They also require us to be more than just a cheerleader. And more importantly, they require us to show some compassion, even when we disagree with the other side. Hey, remember, you can always contact us at youmisschurch@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out to us. If you've got a question, please send it in. We would love to hear from you. You can follow us on Facebook or X at YouMissChurch, and you can subscribe to the podcast pretty much anywhere podcasts are hosted. Just type in You Miss Church, and you're probably going to find it. If nothing else, you can find us over on YouTube. Hey, I wish you all a very happy Monday, and I hope that you have a great week.